Have you ever thought to yourself, man, Windows kinda really fing sucks? If so, we have something in common. My PC decided to shit itself randomly, so it was time to build a new one. What better time to ditch Windows and start fresh? I mean, I think it's safe to say that at this point everyone is tired of all this AI slop. This is why 2 sticks of RAM costs $900, by the way. So, I'm switching to Linux! That being said, I needed to pick out my parts.
I wanted my PC to run smooth. I need something that can run all of my games without struggling and be able to stream it to Twitch without any stutters. This means I need to think out my part list in advance and go with the best of the best. This also means I need parts that will play nicely with Linux and actually have the consumer in mind. So, with that being said,
NVIDIA, fuck you.
I'm going with Team Red, baby. Excuse me. Anyways, for parts, here's what I have in mind. Okay, so first things first, I'm recording this in my garage because at the time of building this, my dishwasher exploded, and there is several dehumidifiers in the house, and it is super loud and like impossible to record. I will be doing a voiceover commentary because filming in the garage means the mic quality is not that good right now. So let's talk parts. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going with Team Red, so starting with the CPU, I went with the Ryzen 9 9950X3D, which should be more than capable of handling anything I throw at it. I mean, just look at this thing. Those are some crazy specs. Right now what you see me doing is removing the original CPU mounting hardware and replacing it with a contact frame. This isn't necessary, but it does come with a few perks, some of which include more even pressure on your CPU, a larger contact surface for heat dissipation, and it also prevents thermal paste from going over the edges and covering those capacitors or spreading on top of your motherboard components. And I mean, come on. The thing just looks really cool. As far as motherboards go, my boyfriend recommended the MSI Mag X870E Carbon Wi-Fi. This motherboard is absolutely packed with high-speed USB and USB-C ports, as well as 2.5 gig Ethernet, which is going to be very useful, and 2 Gen 5 NVMe slots, which we will be occupying with 2 Gen 5 Samsung 9100 Pro SSDs, 4 terabytes each for plenty of storage. And now for the most expensive part of the build. That's right, the RAM. I really wish I was joking about it being the most expensive part, but sadly I am not. I'm going to be using two 32 gig sticks of Trident Z Neo RGB. It's DDR5 RAM, and we're going to have 64 gigabytes total. Now that that's out of the way, it's time to put everything into the case. I'm using the Lian Li Landcool 217 INF case. This case was super easy to work with. I opened it up without a big fight, and it's spacious enough to not cause me any headaches. Now you're watching a time-lapse of me getting the case ready, as well as the CPU cooler. I'm using the Lian Li HydroShift 2S LCD. It's a 360mm AIO water cooler that's going to make sure that 9950X3D doesn't get too toasty. I don't really like the fans it comes with, so I'm replacing them all with the Lian Li SL INF Unifans. Now wait, you might be thinking, hang on Fury, at the beginning of the video you said this PC is going to be running Linux. Does this mean Lian Li hardware works with Linux? Of course not, it's 2026, you really thought you could have nice things? Here's a lovely screenshot from the official Lian Li Discord server, where my boyfriend and I, as well as several other people, asked about Linux support. And what did Lian Li do in response? They said they didn't plan on making a Linux version and locked the entire thread, and then proceeded to say, hey guys, check out our new products and give us even more money. Safe to say I'm pretty disappointed in them, and won't be buying any products from them again in the foreseeable future. Luckily I had a copy of Tiny11 on an external SSD so I could save a color profile to the fans and cables before putting it back into storage, but you can't actually save images to the CPU cooler, which is super lame. Well, rant over, back to building. The first thing I wanted to get out of the way was getting the motherboard and all of the cables installed to make it easier to plug into the power supply later. I'm using the Lian Li strimmer cables, or however you say it, for my 24-pin cable to the motherboard, as well as the 3x8-pin cables for the GPU. As far as power supplies go, I have brand loyalty to Seasonic. I have never been let down by them once, and they've always had my back, so I am going with their Seasonic Prime 1300 watt 80 plus titanium power supply. Alright, the phone died. It is plugged in right now. What I am currently working on, though, I'm sorry about the audio, I just want to do like a cut in real quick as I'm doing this. I am wiring up the power supply. I didn't realize that it already came with braided cables, so I'm going to use the red and black one for like the 24 pin. Everything else is going to be what comes with it. These are PCIe cables. Those are going to be wired into this Lian Li thing. Start routing cables in through here. I got most of the stuff plugged in. I just have to plug in the system fans and stuff, but I'm waiting to do that until I get the 140 millimeter one mounted. And then it's just a matter of putting the radiator up here, putting on thermal paste there, and then it's plugging in the RGB headers and USB thingy for that, and the CPU fan and pump thing, and then I believe that is a USB header, I believe. I'm not quite sure what these are. I think this is also USB header, or it's like a fan thing. I don't fucking know, but we're gonna figure it out. Next up was installing the radiator, which went super smooth. I just did a simple X pattern on the CPU, using some of my Noctua thermal paste, and then mounted the actual cooler, and we were good to go. Alright, so far, got mostly everything done. This fan is mounted. I think I hid the cables pretty well. I just need to route it on the back and plug it into an RGB header here, and then the little fan controller on the back. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to remove these 3 plates because I have some reverse blade Lian Li's. They're the same ones as these, except they will be here and blow air the opposite direction. That way it goes up. But those are going to be plugged in. Then we're going to worry about power supply. But I have most of the cables routed right now. And then I'm going to worry about like tidying these up after we get everything plugged in for the most part the way I want it. And then we'll worry about the GPU stuff. All right, these are the bottom fans. And then we got the top fans, the back fan, the 2 front fans. So these are intake, these are outtake, that's an outtake, these are intake. And then I will peel this off once we get the GPU mount in. But it is coming together nicely. All right, this side panel's on. It is a fucking mess in there, don't worry about that. But this is what matters. It looks good. I kind of just tucked all the cables under here where they will be out of sight, out of mind. But everything is hooked up. I got an RGB header hooked up for this guy, which actually has an extension cable. So I was also able to plug the RGB header for the GPU into that. So I think we're ready to kind of just put everything together and test and make sure that it actually turns on now. I forgot to mention earlier, but I decided to go with the Lian Li vertical GPU kit, which includes a Gen 5 riser cable. The actual GPU itself is the XFX Mercury AMD Radeon RX 9070 XT OC Magnetic Air Edition, which is quite the name. It has the coolest fans I have personally ever seen on a graphics card before. They magnetically lock into place, which feels super satisfying to do. It will also make any repairs super easy in the future if a fan were to go bad. And I also think having the GPU being on full display like this is going to make the build look amazing. Alright, so after doing configurations and getting my operating system of choice installed, I made a tutorial if you are interested, by the way. Here is the moment you have all been waiting for. The full build in all of its glory.
Love me, love me, love me, love me, oh baby, love me, love me, love me, love me, love me, yeah, 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 yeah. Swear you're gonna love me.
Alright, so I am so freaking happy with this build. If you follow me on Twitch, I'm sure you've seen my streams over the past like month about this video took me a long time to make, but this thing has performed so well. There's been a little quirks here and there with Linux trying to get certain things to run, but I've found out like a lot and I've been learning a lot. And overall, it's been such a great experience with this PC. I have had zero like issues compared to what I was having before on Windows, which is really great. And I recommend more people start using Linux. It can be a little scary at times, but it's really not that bad. I'm going to be making more tutorials. For example, I want to show a tutorial on how to add game capture to OBS, since that is not a Linux feature, which lets you do transparency capture for like VTubing and stuff like that, which is really great. But if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Consider following me on Twitch or other social medias, and I will see you all in the next one.